In this video, we're going to talk about progression walls and mainly surfing progression walls. We're going to talk a little bit about what a progression wall is, why they happen, and maybe also what you can do about it if you're currently kind of in a place where you feel stuck or you've hit a wall and your progression isn't happening anymore. Also, just want to give an update on my own personal surfing journey. So a lot of you that have been following me know that I am on a journey to catch and ride an unbroken wave. I started this journey about 3 months ago. And so, I'm kind of at the 3-month mark on this journey. I'm on this 3-month mark of documenting this journey on YouTube. And it's also my 15th episode, so kind of a cool little milestone as well too. But yeah, as far as the journey goes, I am still working towards that goal of catching and riding an unbroken wave. I have not done that yet. Have I made progress? Sure. But to some degree, I definitely feel stuck, and that's why I wanted to make a video talking a little bit about progression walls today. The other thing that I'll do is if you make it to the end of this video, just like normal, I will link another video. And this basically video is just kind of the highlights from my last surfing session that happened a couple days ago. I'll give you guys a spoiler alert though. It was not really that good, and henceforth why I want to talk about getting stuck on a journey, or why progression walls happen, and maybe what you can do about it. Regards to what a progression wall is, essentially a progression wall is that when you are trying to pursue a goal and you basically feel like you're not making progress on your goal anymore. I think this happens not just in surfing, but it happens in a lot of different ways. Like I think people that do a lot of like strength training and weightlifting definitely feel like they hit walls where they're not getting gains as much. I think people that are learning to play the piano or play the piano hit walls. So walls are definitely just a piece of any sort of a learning endeavor that you're on, and it's going to happen at some point if you have a goal to get better. And so just that kind of leads into a little bit about like, why do these progression walls happen? I think first and foremost is a progression wall is most likely going to happen is if you have a goal, right? No goal, no progression wall that you're ever going to encounter, because you're just doing whatever you want to do and nothing really gets in the way of that. But when you actually have a goal and you're set off to try to do something, often what can happen is you don't hit that goal. And a lot of people are going to kind of refer to that as being stuck or hitting a wall. So why do they happen other than just having a goal, right? That's obviously the baseline. If you have a goal, you could hit a wall. But I think there's some other things that can actually cause progression walls as well too. So I think one of those things might just be that your goal that you're trying to pursue isn't very realistic. Me personally, I'm a big guy. I'm not in very good shape. I'm over 40. And so if my goal is to ride a 50-foot wave, or if my goal is to make the World Surfing League, it's highly unlikely that I'm ever going to achieve that goal, and I'm going to hit a wall, and my ability is just going to phase out. So I think first and foremost is if you're hitting a wall, it might be because the goal that you set just is not realistic, right? That's definitely a piece of it. I think another thing that can actually cause us to hit a wall is because we're not necessarily, either our bodies aren't as healthy as they can be, or our minds aren't as healthy as we can be. So I think for me personally, I feel like I really haven't made much progress for about a month now, but I think a lot of that's due to essentially, like, I've kind of had a shoulder sprain, and so that's made it me not really be at my best. And I think when I'm not at my best, it's harder to progress, if that makes sense. And another reason that you might experience a wall is maybe just because you've picked up some bad habits, right? So, if you're kind of doing the wrong thing, you're not necessarily going to have good outcomes, right? So if you picked up some bad habits, or you're practicing, wrong technique or things like that, that's obviously going to hurt you in your goals as well too. So those are kind of some of the reasons why I think that if you are stuck or you have hit a wall, it's probably going to be related to one of those areas. So what can you do about it? Well, I mean, I guess the first thing that you could do is you could quit, right? I think a lot of people that experience walls often do quit because walls are very demotivating, right? It's hard to stay motivated if you're not making progress towards what you want to do. And so there's a good chance that, me personally, there's been several times over the last 3 months where I'm just like, this isn't possible. I can't do it. I might as well just quit. And I think quitting is definitely always on the table, that you could give up, or you could say, this just really wasn't as important to me as I thought, and I'm not willing to do the hard work. But if you don't want to quit and you want to keep going, which is what I personally want to do, I do think there are some things that you can do to continue to progress in achieving your goals. And the first one being, you can recalibrate your goal. And I think to some degree, I think I've made other videos where if you have a goal, it really should be smart, right? So it should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time bound, right? But I think there's different ways to kind of recalibrate that and being a little bit more specific. You guys know that often what I've stated my goal to be for a while is to basically catch and ride an unbroken wave. As far as a recalibration stance goes at this point, like, I might be willing to be a little bit more specific about what that goal is. So how about at this point, I would like to catch and ride a portion of a wave that hasn't been broken yet, right? So maybe not the whole wave hasn't started to break at all, but maybe part of it has broken, but there's still some unbroken wave that I can actually ride a rail of my surfboard on. So that just kind of speaks to maybe what you need to do is, if you're not obtaining your goal, how can you recalibrate it? How can you make it more realistic? How can you make it more attainable, more specific, etc., right? So that's definitely one thing that you can do for sure. Another thing that you can do, and this is something that I'm giving a lot of thought about in my personal journey right now, is practice the basics, right? So maybe not all progression is basically always going to go up. Like, I think there are ebbs and flows, right? You're gonna kind of feel this when you're on your journey, and without a doubt, sometimes you might need to take a step back before you can take a step forward. And so what that might look like is just practicing going back a step and practicing what you're really good at. Me personally, like, I think one of the things that helped me progress in the beginning a lot faster than I am right now is just by practicing on pop-ups so much. Like, I was really focused on pop-ups for a long time, and I think for me, like, I just need to kind of go back and really make sure that that's a big part of my routine, is getting better at my pop-up and practicing pop-ups. I do think that's going to provide dividends, and it's just kind of an area where if that's not right, nothing else is going to be right. And that kind of leads me into this next piece, which is, the other thing that you want to make sure that you're not doing is basically practicing a whole bunch of bad habits or developing a bunch of bad habits. And you want to break those bad habits. So, for me personally, when I look at kind of, my surf sessions, one of the things that I've started to do more and more is not really trying to go right from my belly to my feet, but it's been a two-part, right? It's been more belly, knees, and then feet, and I think that's really hurt my progression to some degree. And the more that I continue to do that, I think it is going to hurt my progression, and it really just hurts your surfing ability, right? The longer it takes to get to your feet, the longer it takes to really gain control of the board and point it in a direction that you want to point it in and control it and have the stability and the speed and everything that you need to do. So it's kind of just an example of what are you doing that you kind of know is a bad habit, and what can you do to break it? And obviously the quicker you break it, the more likely you are to make sure that it doesn't hinder your progression for a long period of time. The other thing that I think that you can do is to kind of basically continuing to progress in your journey is to get some professional help. So, what that might look like is getting a coach or taking a lesson or going to your surf camp. I know personally, like me, I'm trying to learn how to surf, and I've never taken a lesson. I don't really have any friends that surf, so there's not really anybody that can teach me. And so, with that being said, part of me kind of wonders, like, how successful am I really going to be in this endeavor? And I'm sure there's a lot of people that learn how to surf that do it on their own, and I've figured out some things where I've been very successful at. But what I will tell you is, you know, when lessons become available, it's definitely something that I'm going to take advantage of, you know, in the 2023 era, right? So, you know, I don't know when lessons are going to become necessarily available in my area, but if it's, you know, May or June or July, you can bet that I'm going to take some lessons this summer, and get some professional help, because I really do think that's going to help me out a lot. The other thing that I think that you can do, that a lot of things that actually get in our way of our progression, is either our bodies or our minds, right? Not having the right mindset, or not, you know, taking care of our body and doing what we need. You know, our mobility is hindering us, right? So maybe we need to stretch more. Maybe our strength is hindering us, so we need to, you know, make sure that we're strength training. Maybe we're having conditioning or endurance issues, so we need to make sure that we're conditioning ourselves. And, like, you know, me personally, like, I know, you know, I kind of referenced it earlier on. For about a month, like, I've kind of been nursing a shoulder. I would just probably say it as a sprain, but it's kind of like along those lines. It makes it hard to train out of the water and, you know, get stronger and have more endurance. And it also hurts me in the water, right? Because I'm always kind of going at, you know, maybe 70% instead of, you know, 90 to 100% when I'm in the water. So obviously, if there's anything you can do to stay healthy both physically and mentally, that's going to pay dividends on how much progression and how much, you know, you continue to get better, and you're not being hindered by a mental block or a physical block, if that makes sense. And, you know, from the middle standpoint, I'm, you know, probably going to give a lot of thought to that. If you know, ever needed a reason to subscribe to my channel, do so, because that's probably the next video. So if you want to hear more about mindset and what you can do to make sure that you have a healthy mindset while you're pursuing your journey or learning to surf, or whatever that looks like that's probably going to be the next video. So if you're interested for that, definitely make sure you subscribe so you'll get that video when it comes out. Also, if you did make it to the end, you know, we're getting close to right up here. I'll make sure that I post that last surf session that shows me surfing. And, you know, like I said, it wasn't a very good thing, but we're close. One last thing, and then we're gonna get there, right? So the last thing that I think that you can do, right, to kind of break through this the block in your progression, is to cross train, right? So early on when I started surfing, it was in August, and I was doing other things that I think really paid dividends in me becoming a better surfing. I was swimming, you know, a couple days a week, which I think paid some dividends. I was also paddleboarding, which I also think paid dividends as well too. You know, over the last month, I haven't been swimming, I haven't been paddleboarding, mainly just because, like, nobody's really going to the lake right now, and nobody's our local pool, like, it's an outdoor pool and it's closed, right? So those really haven't been on the table. But the question is, like, should they be on the table? Is that something that I need to reassess and say, you know, am I a little bit stuck because I'm not doing other things? You know, I think some of the other things that I've started to think about is maybe skateboarding. I don't know how to, but that could definitely be a good way to cross train. And as it gets colder, so there was frost on the ground today, so snow is around the corner, so maybe like doing snowboarding or something like that. But just, I think, you know, to some degree is just kind of doing something different, you know, can also be a good way to create some momentum in your journey as well too. So again, video right here. If you want to check out the last surf session, please like, comment, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much. Bye.